Hey everyone, welcome back to Isyour6covered, and we are going to do a series, or I'm doing a series called Into the Fire. Let me get some computer stuff going here. And this is basically a series. I'm doing it on it's on YouTube through Google. And turn all this stuff off. But I wanted to emphasize, help people out as far as expectations of the fire department. Basically, go from being a young boy and going through a career of fire service. Hopefully this helps people out. I tried this earlier and for some reason it just turned off after like 8 minutes, so I'm starting over, and I already got a viewer out there, which is cool. So with this series, I'm basically trying to do helpful tools, helpful hints for anybody that wants to go into the fire service. Now, you may be interested in some of it. You may be a retired person that has no thoughts about wanting to become a firefighter, and it may just be some good knowledge that you might learn something from that you may be interested in. But this series is going to basically be pointed towards an individual that wants to go into the fire service, maybe thinking about the fire service, isn't sure, may also be talked out of the fire service as well after going through the series. So this first series, hopefully it should be 45 minutes to an hour. I want to try to keep them short, and these videos are basically made, or will be made, so that you can just play it, plug it into your car or whatever, and listen to it like an audio tape basically. So I'm not going to be showing any pictures. I'm not going to be showing any anything visual. It's just going to be my ugly mug in my voice and talking about some of the things to think about. So we're going to pretend we're going to start from the beginning. Basically, I'll give you my scenario, how it all became. Was in school, high school, and you kind of get pressured. Yeah, what do you want to do when you grow up? Blah blah blah. And you're like, I'm really not sure. Well, I kind of had an idea of what I already wanted to do, and I didn't have family members that were in the fire service. I didn't have people pushing me, wanting me to go into the fire service. It all ended up by basically, when I was in high school, I wanted to be a welder, and I did that for a while at a muffler shop. And every day of overhead welding, your pockets are catching on fire, and the slag's rolling down, and it stops at your underwear elastic and sits there and burns your skin. And I'm like, man, I really don't think this is going to be what I want to do for the next 30 years. I was a very outdoors kind of person. Really wanted to I wanted to do something that wasn't going to be the same thing every day. I knew that I would never succeed in an office place where I was stuck in a cubicle. I wouldn't be able to work in the food industry. I knew that I needed to be outdoors, hands-on, doing something that I enjoy doing. And until now, basically 26 years later, I've been very blessed my whole career in the fire service, and I'm really glad I did what I did when I did it, if that makes any sense. I was glad I took that direction. My options, I was really thinking military or fire department. I didn't really know. I figured, well, I can go volunteer and become a firefighter and see if I like it. And a lot of people, that's the best way to do it. If you're going to go into something, you want to kind of have an idea of what it's about. And being a volunteer at the time, that was your best option. There's no reason to go somewhere, take all these classes. There's no reason to go to college and study a certain topic and then really just decide, you know what, I really don't want to do that. So it's kind of a waste of 4 years or whatever it was. So my option was definitely volunteering. Right from the get-go, you get a good hands-on of ideas of what things are about. You get to figure out that the camaraderie with all the people, all the firefighters and so on, engineers, captains, you know, it was like a brotherly family kind of thing. And I really liked that, really enjoyed that. I thought it was a cool deal. So with that said, basically from then on out, about a year and a half later, I went and I got hired with the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection. And that was awesome. So I was very excited to get a job. There was a lot of people that, you know, in the fire industry, it's very hard to get in. Everything is about checking boxes, as some of us call it. And it's basically you fill out things in every class that you could possibly take. You check those boxes that you have classes for. The fire service is very, very progressive. It's very competitive, and it's an awesome job. But as you get through that, when you're still working your way there, and each one of these videos in the series, you know, I'm going to have ones like promoting and basically go from the beginning. So basically finding out whether you want to be a firefighter, which is kind of going to be this one, this video here. We'll get into it in a little while. You know, say, and then the next series will be like probationary firefighters, promoting, and promoting with, and some more promoting within. We're going to talk a lot about, especially in the probationary series, and you can kind of use that as the volunteer department series, basically being a new person going into a department, depending on what kind of the department it is, about being a team player, you know, not being gullible. There's a lot of pranking that does go on. It's gotten a lot better for the most part, but with that, you also need that to happen. That's how you build camaraderie with the group. That's how you become brothers faster. Running incidents where you're going out of stuff that the normal everyday person's not used to seeing, you know, you have to figure out ways to combat that from eating away at you. And some of the ways are through joking, through having a good time, maybe making fun of something horrible that you saw. And that's how we get through some of the things that we see. But basically for today's video, and the first one, hopefully it continues to play because last time it stopped recording. We're going to talk about people that, you know, have been raised, maybe your father, maybe your grandfather, or were retired firefighters for somewhere, or maybe they're still the fire chief or something like that. And they push people. Like I have a 13-year-old son, and I really tried to not push him into fire. Now, if he comes to me one day and says, "Dad, I really want to be a firefighter," then I'll be smiling inside. I'll be, you know, excited, and I'll help him with that. But I'm not going to push an individual into doing something that they don't want to do, because the job is it's physical, it's mental, which it should be, but it's not for everyone. And the reason why I say that is basically there's some things that happen. You know, whether you could be physically fit. You see these muscled out grown men basically tear up and cry sometimes because their heart's crushed, because they just figured out that there's no way that they can actually do the job. And the reason why they can't do the job, it isn't physical, it's mental. They may have a problem, and the problems that I'm going to go over, I've seen it in the past, are this. I'll give you a good example. There was an individual named Jim, and I won't say his last name, and we were working at the same station one day, and actually it was the day before. He was on, and then I came on the next morning, and then we worked together. And he was messed up. I could tell just by seeing this guy. And if you're not familiar with the fire service, it is a brotherly thing, man. You know that your brother or your partner is somehow mentally jacked up. You know that something's not right because you work right side by side with these guys. You eat breakfast, lunch, dinner. You may sleep in the next room or in a big dorm in the same room. I knew something was wrong. And, you kind of ask them, hey, how's everything going? You all right? And basically they ran an incident the day before, and it was a vehicle that had been, basically this vehicle sideswiped the other car. And there was a kid that wasn't in a seatbelt, this before the seatbelt laws, I think. Or maybe it was just a bad parent, didn't have their kid in a seatbelt. But the kid was looking out the window like this. He had his window hanging out the window. And when the car went to the other car, the kid, his face had basically stuck on the antenna of the other car, as much as that can sound like. But my son's in here. So when we got back to the station, he kind of dealt with it. He tried to joke about it like we do, and he really tried to fight off what you see. The problem is a lot of it's not what you see; it's what you smell. The smell is one of those sensory things that can really jack you up. So you kind of well, anyways, the next day I show up. I could tell something was wrong. He wasn't doing good. He goes in the captain's office, and then this is like a whole day event deal. He's not right. And then finally he's in the captain's office. I guess the captain probably talked to him, or maybe he went to the captain. I don't know for sure. And basically he packed all his shit up and left. And I never saw him after that. I think he changed his phone number. I think he felt maybe cowardly or something. But what had happened is that same kid that he went on, he had the baby that was or not a baby, but a child that was the same age. And that really, he couldn't handle that. And he was done with it. So seeing things like that, maybe simple things, and some of them can be overcome, is like claustrophobia. There's lots of cases where we're wearing stuff, we got a mask on, we're crawling through black smoke, you can't see shit. And just in training and drills, we'll set up drills where you got to crawl through stuff and you get caught up, and there's like wires and cables, so you do get caught up, and it's a matter of basically trying to overcome your fears, fight through it, keep working at trying to get yourself through it. And some people just can't do that. Does it make them a worse person or less of a person? No, just people have things that they need to get through, and sometimes they just can't do it. Heights. A lot of people are afraid of heights. We hang on ropes from 14-story buildings. We climb 103-foot aerials that bounce when you're at the top. It's some people just can't do it. It's something that you can work towards and work on, yeah, but it's difficult. So there's a lot of those kind of things that can kind of mess you up mentally. So if you go in, let me say hi to these guys right here. Hello, and thanks for coming, guys. I'm trying not to watch that thing because it gets me all sidetracked. I get all shiny object and I forget what I'm doing. But there's a lot of great things that come with the fire department, and I would never change it for the world. But sorry, I got like a dry throat. I just got a cold the other day. It's driving me nuts. But in this series, I think it'll be pretty cool, because I want people to be able to click on a certain section, like probationary firefighter, different little sub things in there, like self-fulfillment, the reasons why, the skills needed, promoting team player stuff, gullible, all that stuff. And I think it'll be a good series, especially for someone that's interested in going into the fire service. Obviously, if you're not interested in going into the fire service, or maybe you're retired and you got some great comments that you could put in there as well. But I think it'll help people, because everybody's maybe that person that we talked about earlier about, their grandfather and their father was a firefighter. Maybe this will either help to inspire them, or maybe this will steer them in a different direction, because it's not for everyone. Is it rewarding? Yes, it's very rewarding. Are you going to make okay money and be able to live off it? Sure. You know, especially if you work, a lot of people work a lot of overtime. They make almost their base salary on overtime. So you can make a lot of money. Now, if you want to be very high paid, you're going to need to find a different job. You're going to need to either become a doctor, a lawyer, whatever you think, win the lottery, whatever the case is, if you want to be a millionaire. But with that said, you're going to get paid 10 times fold in, you know, basically being able to, your self-fulfillment of getting rich inside, rich being able to say, I feel happy about going to work. I have a smile on my face when I go to work every time, you know. So there's different ways you can consider rich. And that's what's cool about it. The things that I think attract people to the fire service are the ability to not be an everyday kind of thing. You're not stuck in a cubicle doing the same forms every day. And if you do that, I'm not knocking you. I'm just saying the fire service is, you know, completely different than that. Let me say hi to these guys real quick. Ace Outlaw, how's it going? Mr. Blonde 65. Thanks for joining us. So there's a lot of things that can be done, and it requires you, you know, say a lot of you guys out here, you may be older. You know, that says 65. Maybe Mr. Blonde was born in 65. He may have a kid that's, you know, ready to go into some type of job, whatever it ends up being, or maybe it already is, or whatever the case is. But these are the things that you guys can show a younger generation on maybe wanting to be a firefighter. Or maybe this will completely talk them out of it. Maybe they do want to make the millions of dollars and don't really so much care if they do the same stuff in a cubicle, you know, each day. So I think the series will be cool. I think there'll be a lot of stuff that people can get from it, but it's it definitely is going to depend on, you know, how that person feels about the job. You know, they need to be physically fit. They don't need to be, you know the, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger all yoked up, but they do need to be in good cardiac, you know, condition. Need to have some type of muscles. Hey, Reneman's out there. Reneman Jr. How you doing, buddy? I haven't seen you in a long time. So you need to be physically fit to a point. You don't need to be crazy. You know, you don't need to be a CrossFit champion, you know, 10 years in a row or anything like that. So that's kind of cool. So let's see. Mr. Blonde says, thank you for the series. My brother and I are both getting ready for the fire service. Have two uncles in LAFD, and listening to you makes sense out of what I hear them talking about. Oh, he's 22. Okay. So that's not his birthday. Maybe that's a car that he loves or something. 65. I don't know what 65 is for, but that's cool. So he's a younger gentleman that's looking into getting in the fire service. Says, my brother and I are both getting ready for the fire service. See, and that's a good thing. And I'll kind of get into it on the series, but since we got some soon-to-be firefighters or whatever the case is, a lot of the stuff, if you're 14 years old, at least in California, if you're 14 years old to, it's either 18 or 21, you can join as an explorer. And here's what happens. Here's how you succeed in the fire service. And there's a lot of key elements to succeeding in the fire service, and this is scratching the surface, but get going early. Get going early is the key to the fire service. If my son, basically he's 13, if he said, you know what, Dad, I really want to be a fireman, as soon as he turned 14, if I had the ability to put him into an Explorer program, I would put him in there. And those are the days they're going to do the same training that you do as a professional firefighter or a volunteer firefighter. They're going to end up with certs and qualifications that they're going to need later in life. They're going to get hands-on, morning cleanup, checking out equipment. I mean, there's a ton of shit that goes into being in the fire service. and you can learn a lot faster at 14 than you can if you wait till you get out of college. Because wait until you get out of college, you're behind the power curve. But with college, you're ahead of the power curve as well, because now a lot of departments are requiring you to have an associate's degree, a BA if you want to become a chief officer, and so on, and a master's, and so on, depending what department you're with and that kind of stuff. So having college is huge. What kind of screwed me up in my thing is I started in '89, right out of high school. Became a volunteer that year. After that year was over, I got picked up as a seasonal firefighter. And I was like, man, I got my career. I started my career. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to take classes. I'm going to learn as much as I can about firefighting. And what happened is I got the hands-on training. I got to go to the calls and do the stuff that people were reading about or training about. And so I had a lot of the on-the-job training, but I was lacking in college, thinking I don't need college because I've already got my career. I already have my foot in the door. I can already do it. And over the years, things have changed so much within the fire service. I mean, like basically before, like when I started, it was first responder. If you had your first responder, that was like being an EMT now. Everybody has to have first responder. And then if you had EMT, you were a little bit ahead of the game. Remember I talked about checking the boxes off. Now basically everybody's an EMT for the most part. And now everybody should be going to medic school. So everything is a push. So everybody's advancing, and the fire service is always advancing. If you think you're going to go to work and never take a class after you get a job, you are sadly mistaken. Classes will happen, and you will go to classes for the whole career of your fire service. I don't care how old you are. I don't care how long you've been in. There will be a class that is either made up, because I'll give you a perfect example. Active shooter, right? 26 years ago, you didn't even know what the hell that word meant. So now active shooter class, active shooter training. So as the world changes and the equipment gets better and the type of equipment gets lighter and so on, and we'll get into that in a different chapter. But basically everything is evolving. And if you are going to be the cranky old dude that has so many years and you think, oh, I'm not going to learn that shit and I don't really care, I just can't, I'm going to wait till I retire, and so on and so forth, you're going to get left in the weeds, in the dust, per se. How long is school and training? Okay, it depends on where you are. There's a lot of academies. Well, I'm in North Carolina right now. When I say stuff, I'm going to try to basically talk about California, because I know California better than I know North Carolina. I haven't even visited the fire stations here, which is kind of sad. But not the fire department, but me not going and saying hi. The academy. So it's going to depend on what you do. There's basically, like, if you're a little bit older and say you're married and you have a job, they have a part-time academy where it's mostly weekends, and it'll take a little longer, kind of like a post for police officers. You can take the short post condensed, or you can take the one that's basically in sections. You take first section, second section, and so on. Now at the academy, you're going to come out of there with basically your EMT, your firefighter 1, and so on. It's going to change depending on where you're at, so I won't get too in depth on what the classes are. But you can go right now and type in your local community college, wherever you are, and look under fire academies. Look under, you can also do the same thing, not going through an academy. If you want to become a professional firefighter, and they're around, you're going to want to go through an academy. Now, a lot of departments, like, who was it, Mr. Blonde 65, LAFD has their own academy. So basically you would take the test, they're going to do the background, all that stuff. There's a lot of stuff, psych, so on and so forth, and then they're going to send you to an academy. Now, what's the reason for having an academy beforehand? Well, the reason to have an academy beforehand, even if you work for you go to work for a larger department where they're going to put you in academy, is you'll understand how the academy works. You'll have the ability to be one step ahead of the guy that didn't go. You'll understand that it's very paramilitary. So if you understand the military per se, you'll understand everything is basically on rank structure, wording, and what's the term I'm looking for? The acronyms. There's a shit ton of acronyms to remember. Sometimes there's two that mean different things. I mean, it gets kind of crazy, but it's very paramilitary oriented. It's going to be as hardcore as yes sir, yes ma'am kind of stuff. It's shine your boots, have your beds made, have everything set up high and tight, looking good, polished, strings. It's an academy. You're going to want to shine. You're going to want to look good, and you're going to want to portray yourself as top notch, because you are going to go against thousands of people, depending on what department you're going with, for maybe 3 jobs, maybe 60 jobs out of 30,000 people. Now, the smaller places, you may be going up against 20 or 50 or whatever the case is for maybe 2 jobs or 1 job. But it's always going to be, it's always going to be a competitive world. If you think you're going to jump into the fire service and not be competing against top-notch people, you are sadly mistaken. Because everybody out there started early, right? Remember we talked about the explorers. And that's the reason why, if you're young enough, get as much training and knowledge as you can. Get as many certifications as you can. Go get your medic license. Fire service is turning to medics. Where before it was all about just EMS, or not EMS, your EMT. So everything is very progressive. If a department's going to hire you and they have 2 people, they have a firefighter EMT and a firefighter medic, who are they going to pick? They're going to pick the medic, because he has one additional basically academy, paramedic academy. So he can do more stuff medically. You got to remember, a lot of departments, 90% of their calls are EMS. Now, I know maybe some departments don't run any EMS, only on traffic collisions or whatever the case is, but their primary goal is EMS. So when we're running calls, 85, 90% of the time, depending on what department you're working for, you're running EMS calls. So that's where the paramedic license comes in. Another good thing to get into that a lot of people don't, because it's a hard deal, not so much a hard deal, but it's more work, right, is going and getting your hazmat license, your tech certificate, because that's one additional step. God, this cold's killing me. That's one additional step that is that the next guy probably didn't do. And the fire service is awesome. Depending on how large of an organization you work for, you have many options. You can go drive a bulldozer. You can go be in charge of a hand crew, which is a bunch of people that go cut line. You can go work on a helicopter. You can go work on a ladder truck, an EMS squad if you want. You can work on an engine. There's tons of opportunity out there, especially with the larger department. You can go into training. Say, you know what, I'm tired of being on the engine. I'm gonna go into training. So you can go teach people, maybe larger departments that have their own academy, right? I'm gonna go work for the academy. I'm gonna do that for a year or so. Check that out. Something to do, something different. Maybe you go into hazmat. You go into search and rescue, SAR. And, you specialize in rescue. I really like rescue. That's one of the funner things, more fun things. Funner is not a word, I guess. That kind of persuades a lot of people. It's fun. It's exciting stuff. You get to hang from ropes, go down buildings. Rope rescue stuff is really cool. Swiftwater rescue, you can work on a boat like LAFD. You can go work on a big ass, cool ass boat. Now, if you're the brand new guy, that's kind of more of the retirement guys. They get, because they have so many years in, they get to pick that position, which is an awesome position. But there's just tons of opportunity depending on what department you're working for. Someone from Florida is calling me. I only know a couple people in Florida. It always seems like someone wants to call me when I'm on one of these things. But lots of opportunity out there. So don't think, there's one new guy. We'll just call him Ed. His name's Ed. He's on probation right now. But he really wants to drive a dozer around. And we don't even have a dozer. That's just an opportunity that maybe as the department progresses, maybe someday there will be a dozer. And he's working towards that. Really, he's always been a heavy equipment operator kind of guy. Loves that stuff. So as a young guy, he's going to have plenty of opportunity doing different stuff. So let's go out here. Ace Outlaw's been thinking about it for years. See, and that's the problem. You gotta jump. You gotta go. I think the Family Feud guy. I saw this thing on YouTube about how people just need to jump. They need to go for it. If you have the same job that you've had for 5 years, and you don't want to be there anymore, you gotta take the step. Me moving to North Carolina and working in California as a firefighter, that's jumping. I want to jump. I wanted my family to be raised in the outdoors. I wanted to have fresh water. I wanted to be able to have property and just the trees and all that other crap. Fishing outdoors, kayaking. I wanted to be able to do that. So I jumped. I'm lucky that I can do that, fly back and forth to work, which is, I don't think, maybe there's only a couple of us in the United States that even think about doing something stupid like that. But that's what we do. But you got to have the ability to say, you know what? I can only fall, right? I can only fall so far. What's the worst that's going to happen? Don't be the guy, and I've talked to hundreds of them, literally hundreds of people over the 26 years ago. Man, I really wanted to be a fireman, but I never did it. I never got to it. And then by the time they really want to try, they're either too old, maybe they're just too far into their other career that it just wouldn't be financially feasible. And it makes sense. I mean, if you've been doing something for so long, you're like, but don't miss out on the life that you wanted that you never went for. You know what I mean? Don't be the guy that's going to sit on his deathbed, 50 years from now, or depending on how old you are, and go, man, I really wish I would have just stuck with it, or I wish I would have really tried. Because I'll give you an example of being so remember I was telling you I became a volunteer. Well, I remember getting the courage up to go to the fire station in our town. And I walk in there, and there's a bunch of firefighters and the captain, and they're all at the front door because everybody wants to know who's at the front door, basically. So I walk in, and I'm a young kid. I'm still just barely getting ready to get out of high school. And I'm intimidated. I'm a kid. I got, zits and, just like don't know what I'm doing. And I walk in there, and I get enough courage to do that, right? And so they're talking to me, and I just really felt like I was being they're just some dumb kid wants to be a fireman, right? And this is where you guys, if you're firefighters and you're answering the door because someone wants to be maybe a volunteer, wants to know about how to get in the fire service or whatever the case is, you were that person one time. Don't be a dick. Help the person out. Give as much professional courtesy as you can to some young kid that's going in, trying to figure out if that's the career that they want to do. And so I remember being very intimidated, didn't like it. I was like, man, so I take my paper home, the application. I grab it, I go home, and I was living with my parents at the time. And my mom's like, hey, how was it? I was like, man, I didn't really get a good vibe. I don't remember what I said, but I really didn't get a good vibe. Really felt like, this sucks. Well, my mom at the time managed a gas station, and they had to do, the fire department was there to do an inspection or something. And Captain Curly, very cool dude. If it wasn't for this guy, who knows what would happen. He said, hey, how's everything going? And my mom said, you know what? My son went into the fire station, and he, it just seemed like the guys weren't, very welcoming or whatever she said. I don't know what she said exactly. And Captain Curley, he said, you know what, tell your son, Rick, to come down to the station tomorrow. I'll be there tomorrow, and I'll personally talk to him. And so she told me that. I was pretty excited, and I got a professional feeling when I walked in. I really felt, like this was okay, this isn't bad, And that's the reason why I am where I am today. I could have told my mom nothing. Maybe the fire department never showed up. My mom never talked to anybody, but that's the honest truth. That's how that happened. And maybe I would be doing something else. Maybe I'd still be welding. So with that said, it's a matter of, having the right mindset of going in, but doing it. When I went in there, I was very young, which hopefully you guys are too when you're going in there, because you want a whole career, 30 years or so, and you want the ability to learn as you grow old in the department. And it's kind of a make or break thing. So you're going to get in, maybe you go to a couple classes, and maybe you learn that, hey, this isn't what I want. You're going to know if you like blood or not like blood, if you can handle blood. If you're where you cut your finger and you almost pass out, maybe then that job's not for you. Maybe it's, there's going to be those things. Maybe you climb on a 6-foot ladder and get so lightheaded and dizzy that you have to hold the ladder and maybe come back down when you're only 4 feet up or so. That may be a thing that says, you know what, I'm really not set up to be a firefighter. Maybe you put, something over your face, or maybe you're trying to crawl under your bed because something fell underneath your bed, and all of a sudden you start freaking out because you're in a confined space and kind of closed in. That may tell you that you're also probably wouldn't want to pursue that job as being a firefighter. So there's lots of little things. The things that, like I told you earlier, where Jim, he basically quit because he saw that kid, and because he had kids at home. That was something I really worried about after I had kids. I was really hoping not to run calls like that. And you're gonna run calls like that for the most part. I mean, you're hoping that it doesn't look just like, resembled like Jim's thing. It kind of resembled it was either a daughter or son, I can't remember. And it really just mind screwed him. And you're just hoping that you don't go to calls like that. I remember, I just remember there's a lot of calls that'll be stuck in your head. I don't want to really go over them because then it just brings them back up again. But there's a lot of stuff you squish down. You really do. You find ways to deal with it. And I kind of talked about it earlier about, let's see. Oh, he's almost got his A. Should I get my BA, or would it be better off getting my EMT and medic certs and my hazmat? Well, with your associate's degree, you pretty much will be in line as a firefighter. You can always work towards that later. I would say, and I think you said you were 22, Mr. Bond. I would get your ass, you're behind the power curve. And I'm not saying that you can't ever pursue the fire department. I'm just saying that you're going to be going up against guys that started when they're 18. But it looks like you've been working. You got your associates, or you almost have your associates. So in ways you're ahead of the game as well. So you're kind of evened out. Some of the things that will help you out is, like, this gentleman is 22 years old. I'm not going to say that he has a lot of life experience, but he has more than the 18-year-old, hopefully. Now, if you're trying to go in and become a firefighter, and let's say you have shit on your record, a DUI, right? What's a DUI mean? We know what a DUI means. It means you were drinking and driving, or even drunk in public. That's not what it means. It means you make bad decisions, and they're going to notice that. That's the problem. You're not going to be able to drive their equipment. You're going to raise their insurance. So if I have 10 people and 3 of them, let's just say these 3 have DUIs, they all have the same qualifications, well, they're gone. I'm not even going to worry about that shit. So if you have things like that, if you have drug charges, if you have firearms charges, if you have any type of felony or gnarly misdemeanors, I'm talking sheets of them or something, don't even pursue the fire department. You're going to do a bunch of work, and I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying, trying to give you good advice here. Don't even go do something else. They're not going to hire you. And I don't mean that mean. Maybe some departments will, but you're not only behind the power curve, you're going to struggle for the rest of your career. If you, for some reason, magically get in, right, you are going to be dealing with that for the rest of your career. It's like, oh, should we promote Bill or Fred? Oh, Bill's got the DUI, Fred didn't. He must make better decisions. Now you can be the greatest guy in the world. You could be the best firefighter. You could be the best hazmat, rescue guy. But those are the things that are going to haunt you forever. So if you're really serious about being in the fire service, keep your record clean. Get out of high school, go to college, and take classes, and go volunteer, take an academy, whatever the case is. If you can muster up the money to go into an academy, or if you get sponsored maybe through a department that you're working for as a volunteer, those are some of the ways that you can do it. And it's expensive, or can be expensive, depending on where you're going. And I'm not going to give you any prices because nationwide, I have no idea. I can't even tell you what it is now. It's been forever. And things are a lot different now than they were 26 years ago. Everything was on the job training. On the job training, departments put you through their own academy, because you can throw a ladder 50 different ways. It all ends up going up and being the same pretty much. But there may, 50 different departments. There may be 20 different ways of throwing the same ladder up. Same with anything else. There's hundreds of tools you got to figure out how to use right. You got to be able to carry and manage and understand. Tons of equipment that you got to learn, but it's well worth it. It'll be the best job that you will ever find. I'll guarantee you that. If you're not wanting to be pocket rich, right? If you want to be rich with pride and being able to help people and that kind of rich, then I will guarantee you that you will find no better job. Let's see. Evening, folks. What's up, 6? Seaside Survivals. Hey, buddy. 65, get the certs. Hey, Saint. 65, get the certs and see if that employer will pay to finish your BA and BS. That's the case, too, depending on where you're at. When you're going for a promotion, say you're in, I don't remember who asked me about the thing. I think it was, Mr. Bond. So you go in, you get hired with X department, and you have your AA. Maybe they require you to have your associates. Maybe you just need to work on it, right? And you work on it, and you want to promote, and say you want to promote to engineer, and engineer requires you. It's all department based. Like, I'm just coming up with shit. They require you to have a BA. Well, they may help assist you. They may either give you the days off that you need to go to class. They may pay for some of it. They may reimburse you for it. So that's all going to depend. But having what you started, which is you're almost done with your AA, I would go get your EMT and medic cert. Hazmat, it's going to depend on the department that you want to work for. And that's the thing. Where do you want to work? Don't go to the first job that you're going to get, which is good. I mean, as long as you want, maybe in the mindset that you're all, I want to work for that department, department Y. I'm in department X right now, but I want to work for department Y. Keep that as a goal. Work. You're going to learn a lot of stuff working for that department. In the fire department, man, you get. There's no job that has the best amount of days off. Find another job that has. You basically work, depending on where you work, 10 days a month, 12 days a month. Some departments, there's a lot of different schedules. Geez, I have my own schedule because that's how crazy it is for me to fly back and forth. But the guys are good with it, so we're rocking and rolling as far as now. But there's a lot of stuff out there. That's for sure. My wife's saying, "Go give the kids a hug and a kiss." Okay, I'll be right there. What are we at for right now? not sure when we started this. I want to try to keep them at an hour. And it says 44 minutes. So I got I'll probably do 5 more minutes and then I'll get going. But think of this, please. I see some new names out there. Hey, Shiny Knife. There is some newer people that aren't subscribed to me in this series that I want to be doing, especially 65. What is it? Horrible with memory nowadays. Mr. Blonde 65. Subscribe to my channel if you want. I'm going to be working on a series that may help you a lot. And I'm going to start from ground zero. And this video was just to kind of bring it out like, hey, I'm going to have this thing going. But I'm ground zero and work my way through it. Hopefully, you can put in some good comments, maybe some questions, whatever. There'll be live chats like this where you can ask questions. Maybe I can help you, with some different topics like you brought up here. So with that said, I'm going to go give my kids a hug and a kiss before they go to bed. And I appreciate every one of you showing up tonight. And there's 26 people watching right now. I may start another one of these here in a minute or after a little while and maybe get into it some more tonight. So with that said, family first. And I'm going to go give them hugs and kisses. And I'll see you guys. You guys have a great night. If you're in the East Coast, we're going to get hit hard tonight. So throw an extra blanket on and bring some extra firewood in. With that said, take care. And remember, is your 6 covered? Bye, you guys. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. I really appreciate it. Really trying to grow this channel this year and try to give some helpful insight to people that are interested in the fire service as well. Good night, you guys.